Welcome to the Hopeful Hearts podcast. I am Tamara Lexo, the executive director of Hopeful Hearts Ministry, and I'm here with my good friend Shannon Carr, the founder of Hopeful Hearts Ministry, and we are kicking off season 3 of Hopeful
Woo!
Hearts podcast. Can you believe
I
it?
can't even believe it. Third season. I love it. I love
Right?
it.
Like 2 years ago, we did this for the first time and had no idea what we were doing. We
We
met
still
with
don't.
We still don't really. Like it took me a long time to get this started today. It's been so long since we recorded.
Uh,
Um, but just remember we went over and went to K Air in Humble and they helped us
mm.
get going. They were such a blessing to us and getting started. And then we moved out on our own like big girls. And because we can do hard things, right?
We can do hard things.
We can
Yes,
do hard things.
absolutely.
We are not just survivors, we're thrivers. And if you've never listened to Hopeful Hearts podcast before, oh goodness, that's what we are about is helping survivors of abuse, of traumatic situations to find their voice. And here we are with our voice today. Mine is allergy ridden as usual, but extra because, you know, last week it was 90 degrees here in Houston, almost. It was like 87, I think was the high on Thursday. And today it's like 40.
Mhm.
So, and we had rain all weekend. It's just crazy. It's like you don't know
It
what you're
is
going to get.
crazy.
But my sinuses get drainage. That's what they get. So I
Mhm.
am so glad that we're here. And today we are going to be talking about self-sabotage.
Bum
And
bum bum.
bum, bum, bum. Yeah. This is a big topic. And Shannon and
Mhm.
I have been talking about this for a while. And also, okay, if this is the first time that you're listening again or watching us on YouTube, Shannon and I don't practice before. That may
No,
be
we don't.
painfully obvious,
Mm-mm. Yeah.
but we just do there's a very general, broad um, outline of what we're going to talk about. And today that is so broad that we said we're talking about self-sabotage.
Hmm.
And that's it.
Yeah.
So, Shannon has had some things going on recently that um, she wanted to share, and we will save conversations often for the podcast. Like we will
Hmm.
be spending time together, and she's like, "I want to tell you something, but I can't because I want it to be fresh for the podcast because we don't we
Because
don't
we'll
ever want it
often
to
have
seem fake.
conversations and I'll be like, oh, why didn't we have that on the
Why didn't we
podcast?
do it on the podcast? Because important things will come up, and so.
Hmm.
Just know that any reactions you get from us ever are genuine because we really do save these conversations for the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Shannon,
And
what's
I
been
don't
going
think
on?
that today I don't know because I don't know what will come out of Tamara's
Mhm.
mouth. I don't think anything out of mine today will be will
You
be
never know
triggering,
what's
but
coming out of Tamara's mouth.
just in case, as you all know, if you are new with us, then we do talk about things that could be possibly triggering, and maybe not the best for little ears, because
Mhm.
we are very open and honest about abuses that we personally have gone through and healed through or working through. And we have other, guests on that often talk about their own experiences. So
Mhm.
just to always, for this episode and for any others that you might listen to, um, that is just our little personal forewarning, and
Mhm.
we're not here to, you know, I don't know. Please hold us. What is that? Hold harmless. I'm just going to say it like
Yeah.
legally, like hold harmless if
Yeah.
I accidentally say something maybe I shouldn't
Yeah.
say.
Right.
Just kidding.
Because we are
But
not
anyway,
your physician and
uh,
we are not your counselor. We are here just
correct.
to talk about
We're
what we are going through and things that we have um, offered to others that may be helpful, but
mhm.
you know,
We're two thrivers trying to thrive,
that's right.
right?
That's
Continuing to
right.
try to thrive. So,
Yes.
I mean, with that being said, I'll set the stage. um, for so I can. So for a little while now, I have been talking to Tamara about like I think that we need to do a podcast on self-sabotage
Mhm.
because I actively know that I am self-sabotaging myself. Like that
Me too.
I'm doing this. And what I'm proud about is that I'm acknowledging it, like that I
Yeah.
can recognize it. And I'm proud of myself for moments where I see that have been triggered or which there's put a pin in that one, Tamara. Let me bring that
Hmm.
one up later in this conversation about a particular triggering moment and being able to kind of work through that, which I was very proud about.
Okay.
But what I want to begin with though is a situation where I was surrounded by people that I love and that love
Hmm.
me, been friends for a very long time. And, a situation happened, gosh, 6 months ago, I guess. I can't even
Hmm.
believe it. Gosh, it's already February. And in that situation, it was just kind of a blow up. I personally was just frustrated. I went into a weekend with my friends really wanting to download some things. I had had a really tough year last year. Just needed, I felt like, and maybe I didn't, I felt like that I set up saying, I need rest, I need friendship, like I need to talk out some things. And, and instead, I felt, that I was kind of pushed aside or not listened to. And that
Hmm.
might not have been the full reality. I mean, it's just there is an aspect of me and my healing that I continue to work through of this little girl,
Hmm.
because my first abuse was at a very young age. So a lot of what goes that I go through in my life is based off of the boundaries that were crossed and things that I went through as a
Hmm.
little girl. And this little girl feeling as if nobody's going to fight for her, nobody's going to take
Right.
care of her, nobody
Hmm.
ever cares about her. And I've worked through a lot of that. I did live in
Hmm.
that self-pity for a very long time in my early years of healing.
Hmm.
And I've worked through all of that. But, our journey is always a progress. It's always a healing progress, right? A healing journey. And
Yeah.
and that little girl shines through sometimes and comes back and says, "Hey,
Yeah.
I want somebody to
Hmm.
care about me. I want you to listen to
Hmm.
me." And even it could be as irrational as can be, but she's crying, saying, "Hey, I need somebody to care about me and listen to me and act like you give a crap."
Hmm.
And
Right.
I didn't feel that that was being done at the time, and so it
Yeah.
became it turned out into this blow up, like that self sabotage, where instead of me saying, guys, like, I need you to listen to me. I mean,
Hmm.
that in hindsight, that probably would have been the best thing. We had been friends for
Yeah.
30 years. I probably could have said, hey,
Hmm.
I need you. Like, I really
Right.
need you to sit and
Right.
listen. And I didn't because it was the little girl acting out saying, nobody's listening to me.
Hmm.
Like, nobody's caring about me. And then it came out in anger. Instead of the sadness and hurt and frustration that I was feeling, it came
Hmm.
out in anger. And I absolutely acknowledge that, where I was like, you know what? Ah, screw y'all, whatever.
Yeah.
And I ended up leaving and driving home. And then it took a good month, and I was like, I need to apologize. Like, I feel really bad about that. And I reached out, and I had one friend that just couldn't couldn't deal with it at the time. And so it's been many months. And so this weekend I was with this group of friends again. And I listened, a girlfriend of one of them, it was just the two of us before everybody was getting there the next day. And I was in a I obviously I was not in that heightened state
Hmm.
of flight or
Right.
and I was able to listen, and I said,
Yeah.
like, I need to hear, what it is I that has hurt everybody, because I wasn't
Hmm.
quite sure, you know. And she proceeded to tell me like three different occasions of,
Oh.
in the past year and a half, of where it seemed like I had pinpointed somebody and acted out in like this anger and just being
Mm.
mad and like, you're not, if somebody wasn't doing something the way that I felt like they should be doing it or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And as she talked, like I could definitely remember back, to
Mm-hmm.
those moments. And I had to acknowledge to myself, yeah, you're right. Like I was frustrated with you. I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
angry. I was frustrated. But then I also realized, last year, losing my friend, back surgery, house
Mm-hmm.
flooded, all the things. And
Yeah.
Tamara, I know that you yourself were going through your own multitude of lists
It was a
last
rough year
year.
for both of us, but yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think I think I had started to. That's why I kept telling you we need to do something on
Mm-hmm.
self-sabotage because
Mm-hmm.
I was seeing within myself even that I would
Yeah.
blow up rather
Mm-hmm.
than listen or, talk
Yeah.
things out. And it really hurt. And I was so like, I am so sorry because that is not who I am. And then the thought of, oh my gosh, I might have completely ruined this, especially this one good friend of mine that we
Mm-hmm.
were the closest of all of a
Mm-hmm.
33-year friendship, and that I
Yeah.
might have really ruined this.
Mm-hmm.
And that night I just cried. I just cried myself to sleep. Like I don't, that's not who I am, and that's not who I want to be. And
Mm-hmm.
I will be so frustrated with myself, but frustrated just in the aspect of, sometimes when we go through this healing process, we could get frustrated with the fact that we have to even go through it. That, obviously that we can have that anger and frustration towards what has been done to us. And then you
Mm-hmm.
can get caught up in that sense of,
Mm-hmm.
self-pity and all of that. And that's that survivor or that victim mode. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't
Mm-hmm.
ever want to go back to
Right.
that. Um, so anyway, so ultimately what happened is the next day we were all there. There's many other people that were there for like this Galentine's bunko thing. And then
Mm-hmm.
when they all left, I was left alone with that one girlfriend that I was really the most worried about, that I
Yeah.
had ruined that friendship. And I
Mm-hmm.
was able to talk and just say, like, I really want to be able to have the opportunity to hear, what I have done or said
Mm-hmm.
that has really harmed this friendship because I
Right.
don't want to lose you.
Mm-hmm.
And, she stated her piece about, that I was taking, like, I was feeling like they were talking about me when they weren't, or that I was getting angry about the littlest
Mm-hmm.
things, and that I just was very testy. And I just that I am so sorry. And then I voiced out kind of what I just said earlier about how what my expectations were, and then they weren't being met. And because
Mm-hmm.
my expectations weren't being met, and bring in again, I don't want this to sound like an excuse because I personally can't handle excuses, but I'm just
Right.
bringing in facts, if you will,
Right.
of all these things piled up, all these things that have left me tired and frustrated
Mm-hmm.
and sad and in literally physical pain, and all these things. That little girl woke back up again and was like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm so done. Like, when is it my turn to be taken care of? When is it my turn to be fought for? When is it my turn for someone just to simply acknowledge, like, maybe Shannon needs a hug, like,
Right.
but when I explained all of that, I mean, she looked at me and just said, that brings a whole, I mean, like, that brings a whole different perspective and understanding to your response.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Ugh," so, we're good. And there probably still needs to be a little bit more healing, all the way
Mm-hmm.
around. And I immediately, I had therapy today and talked about it. And, it is something I need to work through. And I just realized you know, how scary that is, that a response or reaction from us can cause such a rift in certain really good
Mm-hmm.
relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And, so that's why I feel like self-sabotage. I mean, we do have these moments, I was talking to the therapist today, and she just made the sense of, even if I had, like, I know Tamara, you and I are really good
Mhm.
friends, and I know there are
Mhm.
moments that you
Mhm.
give to me, and I try to give to you. Hopefully,
Mhm.
I give to
Yep.
you.
You do.
But that, but maybe I don't even know how to receive it that
Yeah.
well, just because it is not what's normal to me. And that,
Mhm.
I tried to explain that. I was speaking at a Rotary event last week, and I tried to explain the fact that we could go through so much trauma, so much abuse, so much negative
Mhm.
things in our life. That's what's normal to us.
Mhm.
And when you try to go for something normal, like I did this with my husband, Russ, like he's probably the most healthy thing I've ever had in my entire life. But in the beginning, I tried to sabotage that relationship,
Oh yeah.
not purposefully. I
Mhm.
just didn't know how to receive care,
Right.
concern, and that
Mhm.
support from someone that close to me, that was in a male relationship, especially.
Mhm.
And anyway, I just want to know what your thoughts are now that I told you that. Like,
Hmm. So many thoughts. So many thoughts.
can you
Uh,
relate? Like those listening, I
I
just
can
wonder,
no,
like, are you relating?
I can totally relate because um I feel like there for myself, that I know I have abandonment issues. And I know a lot of those have resurfaced for me lately, and we can talk about that on another podcast. But I find myself self-sabotaging in a way that I will push people away if I think there's a chance that they are going to abandon me. I will push them away for two reasons. And again, this is subconscious level, but when I can break it down, with therapist or you or after, I do that because one, if I can make them leave before they choose to leave on their own, then I feel like I have some control of the situation, which is ridiculous.
Hmm.
But the second thing is I am trying to create this self-fulfilling prophecy that I have of everyone leaves me.
Hmm.
And if I believe that that's true, then I need to act in a way that makes it true.
Hmm.
Um, so if someone is listening to this and they are totally healthy and have good boundaries and no abandonment issues, they are going to hear that and go,
What
what?
is wrong with these
What's
women?
wrong? But but that
Yeah.
that is, I mean, the self-sabotage, that is really kind of at the crux of it all, is
Hmm.
one of two things. Either I can control it and make it happen before someone does it and hurts me, or I'm going to self-fulfill the prophecy that I've created in my own head.
Hmm.
Um,
And that's what we have to stop from
that's what we have to
happening.
stop.
Yeah.
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 One,
And I realized that, like,
drop the prophecy, because it's
yeah,
not true, you
right.
know.
Well, I realized that, like, I like to do for people. I like to make
Hmm.
people feel special, because I know that I do that because I want it. I want it for me,
Hmm.
right? Like, I
Right.
think sometimes we do for others because it is something that we long for ourselves
Right.
as well in some ways.
Right.
But what I also know that I do, which I need to work on, it's that whole kind of what you're saying, that self-fulfilling prophecy, is that I will do for, and it makes me so happy to see their
Hmm.
response. And I love that and I enjoy it. But there's this also part of me that's like, I'll do for and I'll do for. And I know that I'll get to a point where then that little girl comes out and goes, I do all these things for you, and you do
Mm-hmm.
nothing for me. And
Mm-hmm.
like you said, it's almost like I do it just to prove, like, see, I knew that you
Right.
would never do for me the way I do for
Right.
you. But that's not fair. It's just not fair. We both know that that's not fair. I
Not fair.
I logically, the adult Shannon knows that that is not
Mm-hmm.
right nor fair.
Absolutely.
And it's that self-fulfilling prophecy or that
Yeah.
self-sabotage, whichever, if there's one in hand, right? So,
Mm-hmm. And if we have expectations of people and we don't relay those expectations, we never communicate them,
mhm,
then how are the people to know that we expect that? You know,
mhm,
if I say I just do this because I love it. I just do it because I love it. I just do it because I love it over and over and over, but secretly I'm going, but also I want you to do back for me, but I never tell
mhm,
them that. You know, it's not fair to them. And it's really a manipulation that I'm doing. Now,
mhm,
again, I I know you and I know your heart and I know you are not secretly manipulating anybody with that action, you know, in the same way that I know I'm not doing it. But I do think that inner child comes out at our weakest times when we've not been doing self-care
mhm.
and all of a sudden we've not been caring for ourselves and we look around and we go, well, nobody else is caring for me either.
Mhm.
You know, and like stomp our feet and we raise our fist and we get so
Mhm.
angry. And that's when we get into that spiral where things get out of control. And it's like a shame spiral because we know what we're doing, but also like that childlike spiral where we're just like, we need a cookie and a nap. So,
Right.
yeah,
Always love that analogy of yours because it's
yeah,
true, I
yeah.
mean,
Like sometimes you
sometimes
just need a
you just
sandwich.
need the cookie and the nap. Oh my gosh. Well, that brings me then to the other thing I remember I'd wanted to tell you. I
Hmm.
don't think I ever even, maybe I did tell you about this. I brought it up. Oh, I brought it up in front of Russ, like in this like couples group that we have through the church. But
Hmm.
a couple of weeks ago, or a couple months ago, I don't even remember how long it's been. Um, we had gotten home one night and Russ was taking off his belt and the dogs were around and he was just messing around. And you could
Hmm.
take the belt. Did I tell you about this? I don't
No.
think I did. I know I had said put
I'm
it
just
like
imagining, did he
remind
do
me to
this
tell
with
you.
the belt?
Yeah, so
Like
so if
snap?
y'all can't see us if you're not watching YouTube, like he snapped it. You know how you like
Yeah.
fold it up or whatever and
Yeah.
you snap
And you
it.
snap it.
Right. Well,
My
something in
chest just
that
clenched.
triggered me. Yeah, something in that triggered me. And I know I remember my dad doing it a lot. I also, I don't know. I want to break it all down as to why
Mm.
all of that triggered me so much, but I mean triggered in the sense of like everything in me escalated. And he was like, and I go, Rest, if you don't mind, just like, please stop. And he was like, what? And then like he had no clue. I
Right.
mean, just because I was triggered, it's not like he could physically see. When you say you're triggered, it's not like
I'm
you
so
like
sorry I'm laughing.
explode
It's
and
just,
like,
I know. It's like I can envision the whole thing. Like,
yeah,
like you're turning
it
red and getting ready to
yeah,
explode like a
it's
cartoon.
not
But
like
he
you
can't
look
see
like a
that.
volcano. It's not,
Yeah.
that's not it. It's
Mm-hmm.
just, but inside you feel like one. Like you feel
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my gosh, like you can't like you're not in
Can't breathe.
control.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I was like, Russ, I need you to stop. And I was so later, I was even more proud of myself. But even in the moment, I was thinking, okay, don't scream because I really would have been like,
Right. You're like, don't scare
"No,
him. Don't scare the dogs.
please don't
Don't
scare
scare.
him. Don't like, and he kept wanting, he was like, oh, remember? And he wanted to keep doing things with the belt, not in a weird, but like,
Right.
did you ever
Right.
do it this way? Or did you ever?
Yeah.
And I'm like, Russ, I'm not kidding you.
I
I
need you to
need
put the
you to
belt down.
stop. Well, then Russ is just the guy that it's not needing to, I mean, I know a lot of men are like needing to fix something. It wasn't that he
Hmm.
needed to understand, but he
Yeah.
needed to understand in that moment. But I was
Right.
not at all anywhere near in a headspace to sit and go, well, well, and I just looked at him, I go, that is a trigger point for me. I don't understand why. And I'm talking to him just like that. Like, I don't understand why.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying really hard not to scream at you at this moment.
Right.
So could you please put that away and we will discuss this another time? I know that sounded, but that's
Yeah.
exactly how I sounded. I know it sounded crazy. I know,
Yeah.
but thankfully it sounded a whole lot better than really what it would have from what I
Mm-hmm.
felt like I wanted to do. Like I
Yeah.
wanted to go ballistic and go just and say things I
Right.
shouldn't
Yeah.
say and get the freaking, and you don't care about me and like you're not listening
Mm-hmm.
and all these things, which I
Right.
knew wasn't the case. But and
Mm-mm.
so I prevented myself from doing that. Thank you, Jesus. And
Mm-hmm.
then finally, and I'll admit, it took me to have to say that twice. Like he was,
Mm-hmm.
God bless him. And then the next day I had to say to him, you can't keep, I get it. Like in your mind, like that's one thing for
Mm-hmm.
you. Like you just need to be persistent and understand.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm so sorry that you have to be with someone like me that, like, if I ask you to not, then I absolutely mean it because I don't want to, you don't deserve to see the side of me that I know that will
Mm-hmm.
come from that I've worked so hard to not be, or to not react in that way or
Yeah.
whatever. And I hopefully, obviously, it's not like that happens all the time. And I think he
Mm-hmm.
gets it. But
Yeah.
and later I was so proud of myself for even reaching that point.
Mm-hmm.
And, and maybe that's something I need to go through with my therapist to figure out why snapping of a belt would trigger me
Mm-hmm.
so badly. But it did. It really flooded. Oh my gosh. I got so, so flooded in that
Yeah.
moment.
And,
Um,
and I'm glad that you said that about like, okay, I probably need to talk to my therapist and work through that because
mhm,
that is something that we tell survivors all the time. Like, we can't use our triggers as a crutch for the rest of our life. I can't say to someone, um, don't ever talk about suicide around me because my mom committed suicide and I can't have anybody talk about no, that's not
mhm,
okay because again, that's setting an expectation for everybody else
mhm.
and they don't know that. And so if I blow up, I'm triggered and I have this big blow up, which is so funny. I was imagining Elmer Fudd when you said that, like when he would get so mad at Bugs Bunny and like his whole head would get red, it would like come up his head and then like blow fire.
Uh-huh.
Um, but that's what it feels like sometimes when you're
Uh-huh.
triggered. Like, it's like everything in your body gets, it's like if you feel stiff inside and it's like I can't take a breath and I feel this rage or this emotion or something, coming
Mhm.
up in me. And when once we realize that we have a trigger, we have to work on it to go, okay, I have to, I don't know, what's the term like if you you'd make a grenade where it won't work anymore, dynamite where it won't
Oh
work
yeah.
anymore, like
Yeah.
D
It's
D
de
whatever it.
something. De-escalate
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
De
yeah.
yeah.
But like we have to do that with our triggers. Like we have to make it where,
Mhm.
okay, if this pin gets pulled,
Make it
I'm not gonna
non-active.
blow
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, I actually had a moment that I had completely forgot about until you just said that. Um, maybe 2 weeks ago, maybe even that. And it was so random. Chuck and I were having dinner um, and we were talking about high school, and we had actually been joking about high school because um, I tease him all the time because he had two hoop earrings in high school. He wore one in each ear, and
I can't
um,
even imagine that. That's
you
funny.
know, it was the late 1900s.
The late
But
1900s. Oh my gosh, that's so horrible that you said it like that. But anyway, go on.
late 1900s. But some friends and I, and because Chuck and I went to high school together, our junior and senior year, um, and he always dressed impeccably in high school. Just dress shirts, pants, like he always dressed really nice. And this was like when grunge was in, late 90s
Hmm.
when um people were dressing like
So he was
Nirvana,
preppy.
and he was very preppy, but he
Uh-huh.
had these white pants, these tight white pants that he wore, and he swears they weren't tight, but I think they were. In my mind, they were tight. And
Oh
those
my
two
goodness.
hoops. And so my friends and I, we called him Mr. Clean because Mr. Clean wears the white outfit and he has rings.
Yeah.
But um, anyway, we were joking about that, um, and I had short hair from my sophomore, junior, and senior year. I had long hair my whole life, and then sophomore, junior, and senior year, I had short hair, and then started growing it out again my junior year. And when I mean short, like it was like
Hmm.
shaved on the back, and anyway, um,
Got it.
we were talking about it, and all of a sudden he said, um, because we were friends in high school, he said, I think if you had had long hair, I would have noticed you
Ah.
sooner. He was like, why did you keep your hair so short? And all of a sudden, I was like, I can't talk about it. And I had to get up and go to the bathroom. And I came back and he was like, are you okay? I'm like, I am. I said, I don't, it just something triggered in me. And I knew, like, as I was walking to the bathroom, I had remembered my mom had permed my hair. I got my first perm when I was 2 years old. My mom was a
Uh-huh.
did the hair on the side, and but she went back to cosmetology school like for a second round when I was in high school, and she had permed my hair, and it burnt it, like whatever the solution or whatever. I mean, she had permed my hair 1,000 times, so it must have been a new kind or something, but it like melted my hair. I mean,
Oh.
when I say melted, it was like you would touch it and it would just disintegrate in your
Oh.
hands, almost to the scalp. So we had to cut my hair really short, like right before my sophomore year. And um and I remember my mom at the time act like she was a woman that if she made a mistake and you called her on it, she would definitely apologize. But before, like if you didn't call her on, I mean, she tried to justify things a lot. And I see that in
Hmm.
myself a lot. Um, something I'm working on, but I remember her saying, "Oh, it's not a big deal. You look so much more mature now. You'll look better than, you'll look more mature like an older girl.
Hmm.
You look like a college girl now." And she never really acknowledged like, "Oh my God, you just burnt my hair off." And I know
Hmm.
it was an accident now, but at the time it just felt like, you
Right.
know, when you're 15, it's a big
Right.
deal.
It's a huge deal.
But it's a
Yeah.
huge deal. And but I was
That's
and
trauma.
he
It's
had no
traumatic.
idea.
You
Right.
lost your
And so
hair.
I'm like, we're sitting there and we were having the best time talking, but all of a sudden that came up in me and it was like, oh, I should have probably talked that through more at some point in my life, but I didn't realize,
Hmm.
what it was. But when he said that, it was all of a sudden I felt this heat come up in me, and I wasn't
Hmm.
angry at him, but I felt the heat come up in me and I started to cry.
Hmm.
Um and that's what it is. I mean, some people may say, well, I don't know if I've ever been triggered. Well, what you and I have both described here, that's
Hmm.
what it feels like when just somebody says something and you have or does something. It could be a sound, it could be a smell, it could be,
Hmm.
anything. And
And it
the
could
way
cause
something
you to
feels,
feel not right. I mean,
yeah,
it,
like you
it could
feel
be
like
many
you're not,
different.
like your
Hmm.
skin doesn't fit anymore. It's like you
Hmm.
don't, yeah, you feel
And you could be
physical things.
extremely sad, or you could be
Yes.
like where you want to
Yeah.
cry, you could be hurt, you could feel
Hmm.
numb,
It
I
can
mean,
be
it's not
angry.
one
You
thing
can,
over the
you're right.
other. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
you just
So,
switch. It's a
but you,
switch.
right.
It's like something just happened, and now I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah.
Right. And so as we talk about self-sabotaging, I think there are behaviors that we do trying to avoid those triggers,
Hmm. Yeah.
and that can be self-sabotaging. And there's behaviors that we do once we're triggered because we've not dealt with that trigger before. And those behaviors can sabotage the relationships around us.
Hmm.
So, I feel like dealing with dealing dealing with our crap is
Yeah,
always it's always
it's
important.
the way to go.
It really is.
Yeah, I do highly encourage therapy. And, and that is
I do
something
too.
that Tamara and it's a big part of what we do when we work
Hmm.
with you one-on-one for peer
Hmm.
support. Um, because as she mentioned in the beginning, like we're not therapists. Um, but I'm here to listen. I'm here to give
Hmm.
ideas and thoughts of what I have been through or what I
Hmm.
encourage, or, we have that, we do have that behind us,
Hmm.
tools to put in your toolbox.
Right.
But one of the biggest things is I always encourage you to go to therapy. Like I know when
Hmm.
I need to go. I had stopped
Me
going.
too.
And then when this happened, like I immediately called, my therapist was like, I need an appointment. And I clearly now I see it. Like I see what I need to
Hmm.
work on. And sometimes, like, so what happened all last year is I'm in the thick of this craziness. I did try
Hmm.
to go to therapy and I kept thinking, it was about one thing, needing to grieve my
Hmm.
friend or whatever.
Yeah.
But now that I've stepped away from it for the last 4 months, I guess, and have found a new therapist, that's the thing. Don't ever be
Hmm.
afraid to find a new therapist. Find a therapist
True.
that works for you, right?
Hmm.
And I just knew that I needed a new one. And suddenly it just dawned on me like it is a deeper issue than just the grief. Grief, not that grief is not an
Hmm.
issue in itself,
Hmm.
but it's that little girl popping up
Yeah.
really that I really need to start
Hmm.
focusing on. Um, because if I'm to be honest, like, I mean, there's probably not one friend, and Tamara, if I've done it to you, then I do apologize because there's not one friend that I probably haven't done that with. And like, I think about my friend Alana before she died,
Hmm.
like, God bless her. But, I also felt with her, like, you only call me for things like you're not listening to me or, whatever that woe
Right.
is me, feel sorry for me. And I think there's a part
Hmm.
of that guilt that I have in the fact that she's gone now and I can't even address that with her. But
Hmm.
I don't even know if she had an issue with it or not. Like I don't know. But I'm
Hmm.
again now when I say self-sabotage, it's not even the sabotaging of the friendships. I'm sabotaging my own healing. I'm
Right.
sabotaging my own thought about myself because then I'm putting myself down. I'm starting to
Hmm.
say I'm horrible. I'm saying
Yeah.
all the things that I try to
Hmm.
work with others to not say,
Right.
and I'm realizing that. Then I think I'm a bad friend. I'm
Hmm.
not, I'm not good enough. I'm expecting too much. I'm this,
Hmm.
I'm that.
Yeah.
And that's not healthy either. And
No, it's
so,
not.
yeah, and that's the important
Self-sabotage
thing to
ends up,
go.
yeah. I think self-sabotage ends up sabotaging the relationships around us,
Hmm.
because we're trying to either hurt ourselves before someone else can, or we're building up a wall around ourselves to keep the hurt away. Um,
Yeah.
so like I said, I mean, self-sabotage does more than hurting ourselves. Um, I remember there was a movie. Oh, Chuck calls it the Walmart movie. What was that movie called?
Wish you had a baby in Walmart.
Yeah. Uh,
Where the
where the
heart
heart
is.
is. Yeah. Yes. I remember when the baby went missing and the police officer was coming around and Stockard Channing's character was like, the police officer's asking her and her boyfriend, and she says, "We're alcoholics. We're pretty much just set up on hurting ourselves." Like that she's not going to hurt a baby. We just like to hurt ourselves. Uh,
Maybe because it's kind of true.
right? It is. It's kind of true. It's like, listen, I don't need to hurt anybody else. I'm just content hurting myself.
Oh
Um,
my goodness, what a
but
good
we
line.
do hurt others, when we're
Mm.
we feel like we're content hurting ourselves, but that
Hmm.
behavior does hurt everybody around us.
Yeah.
Um,
I remember Russ saying to me as we were going and starting a relationship, and I was trying
yeah.
to accept the love and care and
Hmm.
support and just him listening, and I didn't know. And I'm sure y'all are like, what do you mean by that? Like, were you pushing him away? Or, I was picking fights. I was picking fights because I really didn't know how else to live a relationship without fighting all the
Hmm.
time. And I was
Right.
just also expecting that clearly he thought had to think about me the way that another relationship felt about me, or,
Hmm.
whatever.
Hmm.
And now I can't remember where my train of thought was going with that. What did I say?
Uh, when
Um,
you said like how you would do that at the beginning, maybe people go, well,
oh,
why
right.
would you do that? Or what is,
I just remember Russ saying, like, he began to call it out, and he was like, you know, I'm not going to be any different. And I do care about
hmm
you. I can't determine what will happen in the future,
right.
but I do care about you. And I think the biggest thing is for you to know that you deserve the love that I want to give you, you
Yeah.
know? And I remember this littlest thing, like him kissing me on the forehead. I'm sure I've talked about this. I know Tamara
Hmm.
married us in her backyard when we very first got married. And we talked about it at the wedding, like, he gave me a kiss on my forehead. I'd never been treated with such gentleness and care.
Hmm.
And we were in the grocery store when he did it. And I literally was like, whoa, whoa. Like I put my hands up, like I was going to slap, like, what the heck? What are you doing? Slapping his face away, like, what? What are you doing? What are you doing? And there was somebody that caught that, like another guy was in the section we were, and he saw
Yeah.
it happen, and he literally laughed out loud.
Yeah.
Like, and I was, and I remember Russ was like, I was just kissing your forehead.
Yeah.
And I was like, and that hit me. That was such a clear moment of me understanding, like, how I'm figuratively even swatting him
Hmm.
away
Yeah.
because I don't, like, I need to know I deserve it. And I remember almost having to say it to myself, I deserve him to kiss me on the forehead.
Right.
Like, and the irony though is that I always wanted it. The little girl was like, why won't
Right.
anybody kiss me on the forehead?
Yeah.
Why won't
But
anybody kiss me on the
right.
forehead? And then somebody kisses me on the forehead and I'm wanting to, like,
And you're
karate
like,
chop them and get them away. And so, the more that I started receiving and understanding and telling myself, and your brain's very powerful. And I had to say, I do deserve this. I do want it. That little girl wants it. I want it. I deserve it. And then now I don't expect it. I'm just kidding. I don't expect it, but it is now. I'm like, I just love when he does those little moments,
yeah.
right? And I can
Hmm.
receive it. And so ultimately, I think, this is definitely something, if you're going through this, that, that we can help each other, that we can work through these
Hmm.
things, that you can, with a matter of, just some accountability, work with a therapist, working with one of
Hmm.
us, and being able to bring in the right thoughts and bring in the right responses,
Yes.
to try, to try.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. If you would like to learn more about self-sabotage or talk to one of us about that, you can always reach out through our website. It is hopefulheartsministry.org. Um, if you know, I have my background blurred today because there's a lot of mess behind me, all around me. There's so many boxes and bags and mess because we are getting ready for our gala. It is happening on February the 28th, 2025. If you're listening to this later and you missed it, I'm sorry. We had such a great time. But but you want to get your
Uh,
tickets today. Tickets are going quickly. I was just
hmm.
doing a count, and I think we have uh I think there's less than 80 tickets left.
Oh, wow.
If I did my math correctly.
Perfect.
Um,
Yeah. I love
so
it.
you want to come to that gala. It's like I said, February the 28th at 7 p.m. at Megaton Brewery in Kingwood, Texas. Uh, Or if you want to support our ministry, you can also do that through hopefulheartsministry.org. We are a faith-based nonprofit, and so we are supported 100% by supporters like you. So
Mhm.
thank you to our listeners. If you could give us a follow or a like on here, that just sets up the algorithm with um, the
Mhm.
places where the podcast plays, so that more people who are like
Mhm.
you in your demographics or your that listen to the kind of things that you listen to, more people can find us easier, and that's what we want. We want survivors out there to listen and to be intrigued and to try to get the help that they need to become thrivers. That's our whole
Amen.
gig. Survivors becoming thrivers. So, Shannon, thank you for sharing
Yeah,
today.
thank you, Tamara.
I always have fun. Always have fun with you. So, um, all right. Thanks for listening to season 3, episode 1. We're excited to see where else this year takes us. So,
Amen.
we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.